Mina is to wear this wreath of Wolfsbane.
In werewolf mythology, different plants are said to be harmful to the werewolf, such as mistletoe, mountain ash, and of course, the most famous one of them all, wolfsbane. Each one of these plants were either used in mythology and lore by werewolf hunters in TV shows, movies, and other fiction to weaken the wolf. In my work in progress werewolf novel, During the Blue Hour, I don't use these plants as a fatal tool against werewolves. I use another one entirely. But before I mention the fatal plants that I use in my work in progress werewolf novel, let me tell you about the 3 most common plants that are used in werewolf movies, TV, and fiction. Also, how and when they were first utilized throughout history and werewolf lore as fatal plants and the myths connected to them. Number 1. Mistletoe. Many people are familiar with mistletoe during Christmas time as a plant that we use to place in the entryway of a door. When someone goes through the door, that person gets a kiss. But how is mistletoe, the Maritime Christmas plant, connected to the werewolf? We'll get there, but first let's explore a little bit about its history.
Mistletoe?
What's mistletoe?
Mistletoe is known by many names. The word mistletoe translates from its Anglo-Saxon origin as dung on a tree, derived from the ancient belief that the plants grew from bird droppings, but actually they grow from seeds found in the bird's dropping. With over 1,500 species worldwide, mistletoe, however, is a parasitic plant, which, if its berries are eaten by dogs, cats, and humans, can cause vomiting, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. So why do we use it at Christmas time? In Norse mythology, the use of mistletoe is mentioned when Frigg, goddess of beauty and love, sought to protect her and Odin's son Baldur from death by making an oath from all things in the universe, from animals to plants, to protect her son. She made an oath with all plants except for some reason she forgot mistletoe. So Loki, the trickster god and father of the wolf Fenrir, saw that Frigg forgot mistletoe, created a bow and arrow out of the wood of the mistletoe, and tricked Haldir, the blind brother of Baldur, to shoot him with the arrow blade that was made out of mistletoe. Baldur died, and everyone mourned. Eventually, Hel, goddess of the underworld, and Loki's daughter, released Baldur from death, brought him back to life. Whereas Frigg was so grateful to have her son back that she changed the berries of the mistletoe into white and said whoever passed under mistletoe from that point forward would receive a kiss. Perhaps this is from where the modern traditions of hanging mistletoe at Christmas and kissing beneath its stem comes from. Okay, so how does this myth have anything to do with werewolves and mistletoe? Well, there's a difference. So there's 2 counterparts of mistletoe. The American mistletoe is not as poisonous as the European counterpart. So people use the American mistletoe as decoration during Christmas. But more or less, it is still toxic. Although mistletoe is toxic, it was thought as a sacred plant in ancient times, many believing it would unlock the key to immortality and that it was the key to the supernatural. Mistletoe was hung on doors and above the entryways of barns and stables. It was believed that the mistletoe would protect children from being stolen by the fae, or if someone wore mistletoe, it was also believed it would protect them from werewolves. For the Druids, they would gather and cut mistletoe in the winter and summer and use for medicine purposes to heal ailments and against poisons, or use the wood of the mistletoe to create wands or amulets. And it was believed by the Druids if it touched the ground, it would lose its magical properties. They would use the mistletoe in a ritual called the Ritual of Oak and Mistletoe. described in detail by Roman historian Pliny the Elder, written in the 1st century AD. He describes it like this. Okay, so when researching mistletoe, I came up into an endless void of nothingness when it came to werewolves and mistletoe at first, but when I started the search for where mistletoe with werewolves started, my research led me to 2 references. A book called Wolfsbane and Mistletoe by Charlene Harris and other authors. It's a Christmas werewolf story. And also the popular werewolf show Teen Wolf. So mistletoe was actually a featured plant against the werewolves all throughout the front half of season 3 of Teen Wolf. It is mentioned heavily by the druid Jennifer Blake to Derek Hale. As she attempts to use it on Derek, she recites the Norse myth of Baldur's death. So that's the connection between the werewolves and the myth of the mistletoe. She recites the myth of his death in Frigg and Mistletoe, connects it saying that the mistletoe is a reminder to the werewolf alphas to not overlook the druid emissaries again. Jennifer Blake poisons many with the mistletoe, including human, canines, and werewolves. However, even though mistletoe is used as a poison, it is also used as a cure by Deaton, the druid emissary who helps Scott in the pack by creating a paste out of the mistletoe. My overall thoughts of why they use mistletoe in the TV show Teen Wolf as one of the plants that are fatal to a werewolf was because they had the druid storyline and arc in real-world mythology. Like I mentioned earlier, mistletoe is originally connected to the Celtic Druids in Norse mythology. Number 2, mountain ash. How is mountain ash a plant that wards off werewolves? Mountain ash, or a common name called rowan, a plant and tree that is also rooted in Celtic Druid and Norse mythology, is prevalent throughout the world. The mountain ash tree is not part of the ash tree family, rather it is instead part of the rosebush family, and it is shaped like shrubs. Mountain ash rowan is considered non-toxic and is only a myth about its toxicity. Its berries contain large amounts of vitamin C and are primarily used in making drinks like cordial, coffee, and ales, and with making jellies and jams. However, it is also contains sorbic acid, and when raw also contains parasorbic acid, which causes indigestion and can lead to kidney damage in dogs, cats, and humans, which is probably where the myth came from that it is toxic. But the parasorbic acid is and can be destroyed when the berries of rowan is cooked down. In ancient times, rowan mountain ash was used as a remedy for scurvy and was brewed as a tea in natural medicine against various ailments. The tea made from rowan berry leaves is popular for bronchitis or colds. However, there is no scientific evidence of effectiveness. However, rowan was thought to have magical powers and was primarily a plant of protection against evil. In Norse mythology, rowan mountain ash is known as Thor's protection because the plant was said to protect Thor from a raging river as he grabbed a hold to it. In Scandinavia, the plant was known as flying rowan and was used to write runes on. This plant, like the mistletoe, was also sacred to the Druids. Wands and other handcrafted tools were also made out of mountain ash rowan. This mythical, magical plant connection to werewolves in general gets stale and almost non-existent across the internet sphere, with only less than 2 search results coming up with 2-line snippets that just say, "It's a repellent against werewolves," and nothing more. The only luck I found with any connection to werewolves was the unique way it was used in the Teen Wolf TV show. Associated with the Druids in the show, mountain ash is utilized throughout the series Teen Wolf to ward off werewolves and other supernatural creatures. It is considered the ultimate plant to ward off the supernatural, and its wood is burned down to literally ash, creating a barrier, and it is said to weaken a werewolf. Number 3, Wolfsbane. Many people are familiar with the notorious fantastical plant called Wolfsbane, a plant called by many names. And belonging to the buttercup family with over 2,000 species, all deadly, and grows up to be 4 feet tall, has been featured in many werewolf works of fiction for hundreds of years now. But what many people don't know is that it's really not a plant just to ward off werewolves. Let me explain and delve deeper because it starts with where this plant grows. Wolfsbane, commonly known as octonum in the real world, derives from Greek origin and came from the word enkolbino, meaning dart or javelin, and it's suspected that it means this because of the darts that were dipped in poison, and wolfsbane was the word lycotinum, which literally means the bane of the wolf because of the baits used to do away with the wolves throughout ancient Greece. So basically, the ancient Greeks would lace the darts in order to hunt the wolves. Wolfsbane is thought or said to be the very first poison ever used amongst the ancient world in Greece, used mostly as a poison and also for medical healing properties. Wolfsbane is the most deadly of the 3 plants I've mentioned in this video. It is said when a human, wolf, or animal is poisoned by the deadly plant, that the symptoms are fatal: frothy saliva, impaired vision, vertigo, and finally a coma. A person wouldn't be able to tell the difference since there is no sort of strong scent or fragrance to the wolfsbane, only like a woodland smell, and symptoms only appear within an hour of being poisoned by the plant. Wolfsbane, with its many colors, deep blue, purple, and white, when given as a gift, was a sign to take caution because danger lied ahead and was always commonly associated with death. It is even said that the origins of the wolfbane plant came from the saliva of the dog Cerberus, the 3-headed dog that guards the gates of the underworld in Greek mythology. I would probably have a video about Cerberus at another time. Wolfsbane, created from the saliva of Cerberus, comes from 2 ancient accounts. Ovid's poem Metamorphoses and Pliny the Elder's natural history. No one knows really the when and how the wolfbane's plant became connected with the werewolf itself as a whole, but during the Middle Ages with werewolf witch trials happening, witches were said to use the wolfbane when making a special salve potion called flying ointment to both become a werewolf, for which I talk about in 6 ways to become a werewolf video, and also used historically as a treatment for lycanthropy, people who believed they were wolves. It was also said to prevent from shapeshifting. Many people were scared of werewolves during this time, so the ancient people of the Middle Ages would grow wolfsbane themselves to prevent from werewolf attacks. They would hang them around barns and pastures to protect livestock from predators. These ancient methods to ward off a werewolf with wolfsbane carried into modern-day culture in films and fiction, as I mentioned before. However, Hollywood has spun the usage of wolfsbane in a different way, using it more as a plot device. In the 1931 film Dracula, starring Bela Lugosi as Count Dracula and Helen Chandler as Minnie Seward, has wolfbane being used to ward off none other than Count Dracula himself. It was said that wolfsbane that thus would gradually replace garlic as a repellent, but other accounts say that there was this old belief that vampires could turn into werewolves, and so supposedly Count Dracula in the original story was able to turn into a werewolf. However, it wouldn't be until 1941 in the film The Wolfman, starring Lon Chaney Jr. and Claude Rains, that Hollywood chose to use wolfbane again, this time in its right usage associated with werewolves. But it appears that instead of having wolfsbane be a repellent to werewolves, in this movie, characters in The Wolfman break off the wolfbane stem and attach the flowers to their clothing. Maybe in another video I'll do an analysis about this particular scene, but I don't know why they did that in the scene. Also, in the movie, the transformation takes place in the fall when some species of Appleton bloom. This is mentioned as a poem that I mentioned in the preview video, Romanian werewolf mythology in the movie The Wolfman. Subsequently, Wolfsbane is also used in later films that have werewolves, Harry Potter, and of course in Teen Wolf. In Teen Wolf, Wolfsbane is still a poisonous plant. However, in this iteration of the usage of Wolfsbane, it seems to trigger the characters of Teen Wolf to shift into werewolf. Wolfsbane is also used to heal in the show. Another unique way they use Wolfsbane in Teen Wolf is that each species and color of the Wolfsbane plant has a different effect, causes, and properties. These are the 3 plants fatal to a werewolf. However, even though these 3 plants are used in werewolf lore, there are a lot more plants fatal to a werewolf in general, and I'll explore some of those other plants at a later time. But wait, there's more. Did you know there was another one? One that can bring tears to your eyes? Bonus. The fatal plant in my current werewolf work in progress novel. In my current work in progress werewolf novel During the Blue Hour, instead I use poppy tears as we know it as opium poppy seeds. Let me tell you a little real-world research. Poppies have often been used as a symbol for sleep, peace, and death. Poppy is most commonly known as a flower plant called Papaveraceae of the family Papaveraceae. You even see some people make pastries with the flower, even though the seeds produced from Papaver somniferum and Papaver periodiflumum can be eaten. It is often used as an effective medicine to numb pain when injured or ill. Called Hilgol in ancient Mesopotamia, the ancient people named it that way because it was considered the joy plant. Over the centuries, the name of the poppy has been referred to as opium or poppy tears, which made from the white liquid in the poppy plant. It is also called poppy tears because the latex liquid of the plant runs down the plant, similar to tears. But for many centuries, the flower has been overused for its euphoric effect because it contains morphine and codeine. It was said that Roman gladiators used opium to improve their fighting, but also to be able to numb the pain when they died. In addition, poppies can be and is poisonous, especially to dogs. Alcohol is found in poppies differ with each species. Some can affect the central nervous system. Indigestion of any part of the plant can result in sedation or an excited state. Signs of poppy or opiate poisoning include hallucinogen, crying, pinpoint pupils for dogs. This is not the cause for just poppies. This is all plants that are poisonous to dogs. That is probably why within werewolf mythology, the other plants, mistletoe, mountain ash, and rye, and wolfsbane is commonly used. But they could have probably just have used any plant, such as chocolate, for example, which is also poisonous to dogs. But I don't use that in my novel. I chose to use the use of poppy. Let me show you how I use it in my work in progress. In my work in progress novel, During the Blue Hour, I named this plant simply Hilgol, or poppy tears. It is an unknowingly deadly, perilous plant to the werewolves and causes a slow and painful death to arise over time. It is very rare at the state of the first novel and throughout the series, but does grow in a place called Diamond Mist Valley, a pocket of lost earth masked away far away in the mountains. Poppy tears has a dominant magical effect on my werewolf race. As a calming drug, it appears to put asleep their beastly emotions and leave them human with only their celestial powers appearing. Always euphoric light feeling. With one dose, the poppy tears can stay in their system for up to a year without having them shift into a werewolf. But it is not natural for the kangaroo to stay just in one form for a long time. They must release their emotional hormones and transform into the beast or human alternately to survive. If they keep using it or just one time unknowingly in human form, they'll slowly become sick, and over time and their nerves will begin to deteriorate, making them weak and unable to walk. If and when it starts to leave their system, it will cause a fatal reaction by first making them have animalistic mood swings in their human state, then transform into the beast. Soon after transforming into the beast, they experience paralysis and quick shutdown of functions, then death. Yearling werewolves experience the effects of Hugo much quicker than the older werewolves, and the years speed up in their bodies, making it, if not taken more than once, the doses last less than a year and more like a month. If you like this werewolf fact video and you want to see more werewolf lore and content involving my work in progress during the Blue Hour, hit that like and subscribe button on this YouTube channel, and then head over to my website to join the Werewolf Pack newsletter. But first, let's start a dialogue. Here is a poll I created, and it looks like Wolfsbane. Wolfsbane was the most fatal for a werewolf, fatal plant for a werewolf. But what do you think is the most fatal plant? I want to know, so let me know in the comments below. What other topics about werewolves would you like to see? The next topic I'll explore